of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello and welcome to The Reporter, a news and current affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, bringing reporters from the field to give first-hand accounts and in-depth analysis of unfolding issues, correspondents' perspectives, ensuring balance, credible and comprehensive storytelling. Welcome once again. I am Aniti Patrick. On this edition of the program, the African Democratic Congress ADC has unveiled its governance principles and codes of ethics known as the Orange Book, setting out a framework for ethical conduct, accountability and responsible leadership for members of the party. The document was unveiled in Abuja as the party intensifies preparations for the 2027 general elections and seeks to establish a governance model based on integrity, transparency, accountability, and service to Nigerians. Our political correspondent, Ubong Usoro, completes the story.
The Orange Book outlines the principles expected to guide members of the African Democratic Congress, particularly those who have emerged as candidates and eventually occupy public offices on the platform of the party. The initiative is also aimed at addressing concerns surrounding political leadership in Nigeria, including corruption, abuse of public office, lack of accountability, and the use of political positions for personal interest. Speaking on the initiative, the ADC National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, said the code was designed to provide a clear ethical direction for members of the party and ensure that the ADC's political activities are guided by established principles rather than individual interests.
I'm delighted to say that this is the first time any political party in Nigeria, at least from 1999 till this moment, can say we are developed a code of ethics and a principle of governance.
The document places emphasis on integrity, transparency, accountability, discipline, and putting the public interest above personal or political considerations. A key feature of the framework is its position on the management of public resources, with the party stressing that public funds must be managed transparently and elected officials must remain accountable to citizens. The ADC National Legal Advisor, Professor Osime Oshubo, also brings a legal and institutional perspective to the initiative.
We in ADC don't believe that all is fair in politics. We believe that politicians should hold themselves to a certain level of ethics, a certain level of conduct, so that the younger generation that is coming behind us will see good examples to live up to.
Professor Osumbo, a former governor of Edo State, is expected to play an important role in ensuring that parties' ethical commitments are consistent with constitutional principle, the rule of law, and the responsibility of political office holders. The party says the success of the code will depend not only on its declaration, but on the mechanisms available to enforce its provision when members violate established standards. Ubong Usoro, Global TV News.
And joining me to speak on this issue is our correspondent, Ubong Usoro, who's standing by to speak to me on this issue. What does the Orange Book really stand for in the political space? Hello, Ubong. It's good to have you join me on The Reporter today. Have you been?
It's good to join you.
Amazing, Ubong. Let's talk about the Orange Book itself. Beyond unveiling the Orange Book, what concrete mechanism will the ADC put in place to ensure that its members, especially elected officials, actually comply with the party's ethical standards? Because, of course, that's what we're looking forward to with the build-up to the 2027 general elections.
Yeah, I think that, as you know, ethics is what we really need in our politics because a lot of our Nigerian politicians are not ethical in their conduct. You see them moving in the morning, they're in one party, and by afternoon, they've already moved to another party, and this affects the kind of politics we play. So, bringing in some level of ethics, morality into our politics, I think is a good way to go as a people. That we will be proud that at the end of the day, our politics is more stable, is more professional, and I think the ADC is leading the pack by doing this.
Accountability and public interest translates into measurable action if the party gains political power come 2027.
All right. So what the party is saying is that it will withdraw candidates who violate this particular law. That their tickets will be withdrawn at the end of the day. And I think it's a good way because if you are a governor and your party withdraws your ticket, of course, you will not be happy about it. And you want to do well so that your party will not get to that point. So I think it's a good way to go.
And with this, and we like the way this is going for as part of the build-up and reforms we see with political party. But let's look at the fact that can a party's code of ethics truly change political conduct in Nigeria? That's one. And what sanctions should ADC members face when they violate these principles they have publicly pledged to uphold, the Orange Book? Because this is a principle they are publicly saying they will uphold if this comes to play. How does that translate for you, being a political correspondent?
And yet a party saying that if you don't do this, we'll do this, does not change anything. These are human beings that have their own conscience, they have their thoughts, they will know what they want to do, right? So the party can only advise. That's what I feel, right? So, but I think it's a right way. Let the party come out and say, this is what we want. So people who join that party will know that they are supposed to do that. And I think it's a good way to go. But will the party be able to hold them to account? Is a question I cannot be able to answer.
Well, I like the way you're narrating yourself from that conversation, but that was supposed to just get you on your toes because, of course, we expect the in-depth analysis of all this, what it means for our audience to have a grasp of what is happening ahead of the 2027 general election. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us on this issue, and we look forward to seeing how this translates into 2027. Thank you, Bob. So let's turn our focus and head to Imo State, where the Imo State Commissioner for Finance and Coordinating the Economy, Chukwuemeka, has expressed readiness of the state to host key players in Nigeria's finance and revenue sector under the National Council on Finance and Economic Development, NACOFED. The commissioner, who made this known while addressing journalists in Owerri, Imo State, says the three-day meeting is expected to focus on strengthening fiscal federalism, boosting revenue generation, and building resilience in the face of global economic uncertainties. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ibe, tells us more.
With the stage set for a major gathering of Nigerians' financial managers, the Imo State government says Owerri is ready to host the National Council on Finance and Economic Development. Commissioner for Finance and Coordinating Economy, Chukwuemeka, says this year's meeting comes against the backdrop of growing pressure to strengthen Nigeria's revenue base, ensure equitable allocation of resources, and make the economy more resilient.
By the way, the council I just mentioned to you, National Council on finance and economic development. Is for a short form, is called NACOFED. This is the first time Imo State is hosting this body, and actually this is also the first time that any state in the Southeast has hosted them. Basically, deliberate on ways that the economy of the country will continue to be.
With the theme Strengthening Fiscal Federalism for Sustainable Revenue Generation, Equitable Allocation, and Economic Resilience in a Volatile Global Economy, the Commissioner says it is an opportunity to place the Southeast at the heart of Nigeria's fiscal conversation as the country seeks stronger revenue, fairer allocation, and a more sustainable economic future.
The theme of this particular event this year is strengthening fiscal federalism for sustainable revenue generation, equitable allocation, and economic resilience in a volatile global economy.
As delegates converge in Imo, expectations are high that deliberations will produce practical solutions to strengthen fiscal federation, boost revenue mobilization, and promote equitable resource allocation. In Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, Global TV News.
Well, I will see if we can get Amarat to join us and speak on this issue. The question here has been asked, looking at the fact that Nigeria is being faced with global economic uncertainties, and hopefully this conference shows practical measures that can ensure a fairer allocation of resources while reducing the financial pressures on states and local governments. That's one of the focus. Hopefully this NACOFED will deliberate on, as well as produce new fiscal framework that will boost internally generated revenue and promote economic resilience and untimely translate into better developments for Nigerians. We look forward to seeing how this pans out as the conference comes up. Let's turn our focus and look at what today stands for. Every year on August 12th, the world marks International Youth Day, a day dedicated to celebrating young people and drawing attention to the opportunities and challenges shaping their future. It is also an opportunity to hear directly from young people on the issues that most of them are confronted with, from education and employment to technology, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Zarau Nasir has the rest of the story.
Today, as the world marks International Youth Day, attention is drawn to the important role young people play in shaping the future. The day highlights the need to empower youths with opportunities and support to reach their full potential and contribute to national development.
From education and technology to entrepreneurship, leadership and innovation, young people remain central to shaping the future of their communities and nations. In Nigeria, where young people make up a significant share of the population, their energy, creativity and skills are critical to economic growth and national development. But for many young Nigerians, turning potential into progress remains a challenge. With unemployment, rising living costs, limited opportunities and inadequate access to quality education and skills training continue to weigh heavily.
I think the government should improve in employment. There should be more opportunities for youth to be able to be employed, because most time you go for interview and then they will need someone with 2 or 3 years experience when you're just a fresh graduate.
Nigerian youths are very, very talented, so the biggest challenge most of them are facing, and I'm not saying every single youth, most of them, especially the ones that have something to actually offer, is a listening ear and empowerment. Like, there are a lot of creative people in Nigeria, and that's why Nigerians want to run out of the country, because they value this creativeness. So yes, I feel like they are not properly paid attention to and empowered on those strategic things that they are actually doing.
Young people say greater investment in education, job creation, technology and entrepreneurship is needed to create an environment where they can thrive and contribute meaningfully to the economy.
Well, for me, I will feel as if the challenges facing them most especially is unemployment and idleness. So I believe if the government is able to carry them along, it will crop some of these deficiencies. But most of them are idle and they don't have it. Even with the circuit, there are no jobs.
I think there should be more job opportunities for graduates, and then for upcoming students too. They should there should be more awareness, and then the government should just try to make the country better. Inflation is too much.
As the world marks International Youth Day, Nigerians are calling for more than recognition. They want opportunities, skills, jobs and meaningful support to build their future and play a greater role in national development. Zahra Unasr, Global TV News.
And what a way to celebrate young people. And joining us right now is our correspondent Zarau Nasir, who was on the streets of Abuja to hear and feel the pulse of young people. Speak to us on what it stands for August 12th this year, because it's a yearly event. Hello Zarau, it's good to have you join us on the program. How's your day going?
Hello, it's good to join you too on the reporter.
So let's jump on this. Beyond celebrating Nigerian youths, what concrete opportunities are needed to turn their potential, their skills and creativity into sustainable jobs and economic empowerment?
Well, as you know that today marks the International Youth Day, which is August 12th, and It's also an opportunity to hear directly from young people on the issues that matter to them, from education and employment to technology, entrepreneurship and leadership. So we are able to go around Abuja. We are able to speak to some youths who we ask them of their challenges, the challenges that these youths are facing right now in the country. They explained to us that they are facing numerous challenges, which includes unemployment. These youths are not happy with the way the country, there are no enough jobs, which make them to call on the government to provide job opportunities and also to be empowering them to be on their own, so that they will not able to rely solely on government when there are no enough job opportunities. When they are empowered, they will be able to, rely on their depend on themselves to get something doing.
You said you spoke to the young people and they told you their challenges. Like I asked earlier, I wanted to know how you mentioned unemployment. Let's stick with that. With unemployment, rising living costs, and gaps in education and skills training, where are the current youth development policies falling short? Because, of course, they've called on governments, but some of these policies seem to be falling short. So what should the government do differently to assist youths, since they seem to have challenges even with their skills? They're still struggling to make ends meet.
Well, the young people say greater investment in education, job creation, technology, and, like I said, entrepreneurship is needed to create an environment where they can thrive and contribute meaningfully to the economy.
So how can Nigerian youths move from being a benefactor, they're always beneficiaries of government programs, to becoming active leaders, innovators and decision makers in shaping the country's future? Because we need to go past being beneficiaries of government policies.
Yes, and the government should, like I said, like even what they also said, the government should try and be empowered. Maybe come up with a policy that whenever these young people are out of school, meaning they are whenever they graduate from school, so since there are not enough job opportunities in the country, they should be able to come up with a policy that maybe whenever they are out of school or whenever they graduated, there is something that the government give for them. Maybe like, yes, keep for them, like to see in terms of let me see this entrepreneurship day, this entrepreneurship.
Nasir, for speaking to us on that issue. We look forward to seeing and hoping that youths can turn away from being just beneficiaries of government policies and get active on their innovations that they have as young people. Thank you so much for your time with us. So let's turn our focus and look at what's happening outside the shores of Nigeria, where Pope Leo has expressed solidarity with victims of the devastating earthquake in Colombia, which has killed at least 240 people as rescue and relief operations continue across affected communities. Speaking during his weekly audience at St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope offered prayers for the families of those who lost their lives and for all those affected by the tragedy. Samuel Odi tells us more.
The earthquake caused buildings and other structures to collapse in several communities, leaving people trapped. Emergency teams, including soldiers, firefighters, medical workers, and volunteers, have been deployed to search for survivors and provide assistance to those affected. Pope Leo, during his message, urged continued support for those affected as authorities and rescue team remain engaged in search and relief effort. The earthquake has left communities facing significant destruction, with concerns mounting over humanitarian needs for survivors. The earthquake has caused widespread destruction, leaving thousands in need of emergency support as authorities assess the extent of damage. Pope Leo XIV says his prayers remain with victims and their families and all those affected, while rescue and relief operation continues across Colombia. Samuel Odi, Global Television News.
And joining me right now to speak on this very sad incident is Samuel Odi, who spoke on earlier on the report. Of course, this is heartbreaking when you see earthquake claim lives of people and then there's a struggle for survival. Hello, Samuel. It's good to have you join me on the program.
Yeah, it's always good to be here and to always have conversations with you as well.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Let's get to this very sad incident that happened in Colombia. I was having this conversation outside the studio and it was really sad. But let's look at how prepared the Colombian people in regards to emergency cases, because the response is actually supposed to stand very effective to disaster and to the magnitude of lives saved, more saved, because that's what we should look at, emergency cases. Talk to me on how you think that is playing out right now.
Well, so far in the first 12 hours of the sad incident, but I can first say the world cannot be over ready for natural disasters like this, given the current situation. But for Colombia, how they responded to the incident in the first 12 hours, they were able to identify key areas where those earthquake happened, and then they were able to save a couple of lives, save a couple of individuals, and then they recorded the first death toll to about 20 persons and a couple of injuries. And then as the time keeps unfolding and then more personnel keep getting involved, more citizens, more volunteers started coming on board. They faced a series of challenges though, but in terms of response, the response for the first 12 hours was swift, and they got results despite facing a couple of challenges.
Okay, so I want to look beyond the immediate rescue. Just like you said, the first 12 hours was really very effective. And in this kind of magnitude of things, what do you think the rescue victims would need in terms of humanitarian relief? Because the first thing to get to them right now is get them to safety, but humanitarian relief, what's the urgent support that these survivors or displaced persons should be given?
Well, the number one thing now will be shelter, and aside from shelter, the survivors, those that were not injured and those that luckily were alive, first medical care, then the shelter, food. Then before, those are the first stages of those things before the government start looking into damage and also trying to restore the things that these individuals, like their homes and then plans for where they will stay in the long run. But for the short term, the government is started making plans already for a camp, international displaced camp for those individuals, and they've started calling for humanitarian support. And so far, up to date, yes, the death toll has gone up to over 200, which is very sad. But the government is responding. Humanitarian agencies are beginning to, come in. But we're still waiting on the World Bank and the United Nations to make a comment on this.
So you actually just took it out of my mouth, because I was going to ask you that part of it. Yes. Because with the widespread of destruction reported, just like you said, the death toll has risen. Yes. There's a lot of concern, and of course the community, one thing that goes to them first is the psychological impact. Yes. So how they're going to recover as a community, because now they've become displaced persons. No shelter, no homes. Just like you mentioned, Colombia is one country or place that has had their safe space, and just like their thing very low. And so now, just like you said, we need the IMF, the World Bank, all of that, the international community to come give them that moral support in terms of the psychological trauma they're faced with at this moment. So talk to me about what if it doesn't come as quickly as they expect.
Well, from what the Pope said today in his message, he prayed, obviously. So obviously going to pray. He prayed for victims. I hope that rescuers and personnel, fire service, military individuals and volunteers get to discover and then find a way to scale past the challenges, because of some places more devastated than the others. Now, the 14th Pope has made promise of them sending relief materials to Colombia and helping with the incident, so as those families, mostly children and women, will be taken care of more. Well, he didn't mention men. I wondered why. No. Women and children are most vulnerable. Yes, so looking at it from those angles now, they are doing their part, and I'm certain that the government is making efforts already. And the faster that those relief materials gets to them, the faster the people will feel, yes, we're loved, because this psychology, like you mentioned, is going to take a toll on them, because imagine you working all your life, or probably just paying your mortgage, and then this happened. It's going to take a toll on people.
It's really a heartbreaking one, and we hope they get out of this as soon as possible. Well, thank you so much, Samuel. It's always a pleasure having you speak on these issues.
It's always good to talk to you.
All right, amazing. Here it has been with us on The Reporter. Fantastic conversations, like Samuel has highlighted. We hope that they get the relief materials or humanitarian support as quick as possible. And we've brought you a lot of conversations, from politics to youth involvement and every other thing. And that brings us to the size of the program, The Reporter. Thank you for being a part of it. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and on Free TV. To stay connected, kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using @Global TV NG. I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.